new singles.
All right, camera one's rolling.
I love how you said it though. Like, yeah, my new single.
All right, guys, we're gonna start here.
You that bitch.
Camera one's rolling, camera two's rolling, camera three's rolling, sound's rolling. This is S&E, scene take one.
The Sunday Night Edition is a show where we talk about opinions. Everyone has one, everyone wants to claim one. Whenever you go to a party, everybody tells you theirs and hopes that you'll share theirs. Today on the show, we're talking about the opioid problem in America, opioid addiction. Has America lost the war on drugs? Today on my show, we have a fabulous panel of guests, and of course, my beautiful co-host, Deanna, is with us again, as always, and watch her mouth, she'll use it. Today, we have, joining us is our cast member who you've seen before on the show in some of our skits. Please welcome Lana to the show. And our guest today is a recording artist, he's a musician, singer-songwriter, also a dancer and choreographer from New York, now residing in Vegas. Please welcome, and don't let me forget to mention, he's performing Grammy weekend in Las Vegas. Please welcome Ari to the show. Recording artist Ari is with us today. And we're going to jump right into the topic. So guys, the opioid addiction in America is a big problem. It's the #1 drug problem in America. Let's start with Deanna. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that we really need to obviously crack down on this crisis, and physicians are definitely over-medicating patients with opioids, not to mention the fact that if you think about it, some of these patients are going to multiple doctors to receive types of medications that probably are really not necessary for them, which could actually have them overdose because they're getting all of these different types of Oxycontins, hydrocodone, Lortabs, Percocets, and mixing and matching these different types of opioids. And like I said, in turn, they could really have some serious damage to their bodies and or overdose and die as a result of this.
I agree. Anyone else got a thought on that?
I would also like to add to that, that I agree with people going out to different doctors and getting stuff, but I also feel that it should be administered only in the hospital by doctors and physicians, so that you're not going out being prescribed the drugs, taking it home, keeping it for a long term. It should be something that's very short term, and that can be monitored in case you have a side effect, in case your body can't handle it. Because they could say, oh, well, you're young, you're athletic, you can handle this, and then that one dose puts your body over the edge. So if you're not there for them to see that, they can't really fix it right away. So I feel like it should only be monitored in the hospital. And then once you're under control, that's it. Like, you're done, take you off of that and give you something else like Tylenol or something that's not going to be that high. That's powerful.
I want to add to that. There was a story on National Public Radio recently about, it was a group of physicians that run the ambulance service, and the cops that would arrest people, say, for drunk driving. And what they would do, the cops would call the ambulance, say, hey, we got a guy here who's out of control, you need to come down. And they would prescribe this specific drug for every one of these cases where the cops would say this individual's out of control. They would prescribe this drug until a medical professional, a doctor, actually looked at this situation and said, this drug you're giving these guys is very, very dangerous. Like, you can't just give this to somebody because they may have a DUI. This is a serious drug and has very serious side effects. And so they had to literally create a legal mandate that said you cannot prescribe this drug to anyone outside of an emergency room. Because, again, they had problems. They were taking people to jail who were high on crack. Anyway, so I go to Lana, which rhymes with Madonna. Remind me of that. Lana, what are your thoughts on the opioid problem?
I actually wanted to piggyback off of what he said.
Of course you would.
Because he had said how it should only be in a hospital setting where you can actually monitor the patient. I feel like you can also monitor where the drugs go, because people could take it home and then all of a sudden you're telling the neighbor, hey, I got some Oxycontin. Like,
right.
I got this, I got that.
That's exactly how they look when they say it, too.
Yeah. So that being said, I'm like, you can sell it to the neighbor. Now it's not being monitored to the neighbor next door. And now they can overdose because they build a tolerance. And I feel like if it's in a hospital setting, you know who you're giving it to. It's monitored by a professional, so it's not really out in the streets like it is. That's why it's such a problem.
I go to Deanna, who's always outspoken. Is there any good reason to have drugs this powerful in our market? I mean, what would be the plus? You know what I'm saying? We don't want to just talk about the problem. What about the solution? What?
Honestly, I don't think that there is a solution, but again, this is just my opinion only. Because again, with the dosing that people are getting these pharmaceuticals distributed to them, they're in real high doses. And so, like I said, back to what I initially had stated with regards to people being able to overdose on multiple types of medications, we don't know what dose is being prescribed to these people. And like I said, as far as if they're getting one medication from one doctor, let's say perhaps they're getting a 10 milligram Lortab from one doctor and a 5 milligram hydrocodone or Percocet or some other type of pain medication, we don't really know who is giving the drugs to the patient. And so, like I said, just my opinion, I don't think that there's any good in prescribing these types of medications because they're very dangerous and can be lethal.
The first time that I heard about an opioid problem is I had a friend who was an ex-military veteran. He was a veteran, and he had gotten addicted to the painkiller aspect. He used these painkillers, and he had gotten addicted to the point where he would go and he would rob drugstores because he needed the fix. And then he got caught and he went to prison. He got out of prison and he got a job working for a drugstore. And there he went again. He was robbing drugstores again. And that's when I first realized, like, this is a really problem. Like, this is a big deal. If you've got people that are willing to go out and do this, I mean, what else? What happens next, you know? Anyone else? You were going to say something?
Well, because considering what she said, I feel like if there's people who really are in pain, like cancer pain, car accident, like my brother personally, he got into a car accident, he's paralyzed from the waist down. And it's funny how he tells me, he's like, I can't feel my body waist down, but I could feel the pain. Like sometimes he'll have like a shooting pain down to his foot. He feels that, but he can't move, he can't feel anything else. So considering like those type of pain, that type of pain, it's like, how do you relieve that pain from somebody without medicine? You know, I'm like, so you do need but like you say, it just needs to be monitored so people don't get so addicted. But it's an easy, because it messes with your brain. You get so tolerated. You tolerate it because it makes you feel so good.
That's where the immunity starts, because you need more and more
And
and
people
more.
need to up their dosage, right? So that is a problem. But I mean, if people are out there that are able to get physical therapy as an alternative, I mean, that's certainly out there. But you're right, it definitely proves a point to say what is really controlling your mind with regards to these drugs to monitor the pain that you have and fix the problem. So,
but that being said, some people can't get physical therapy because I'm like, that's something that an insurance has to pay for. If you're a cash paying patient, you don't have the right insurance, you can't go get physical therapy. So the cheap way out is medicine. Like, hey doc, it's like Medicaid will pay for these medications sometimes. So
well, not only that, but they're getting medicine off the street too, and that's a big market that people are selling their pills for, X amount of dollars, and say, okay, how many perks do you have, and I could sell you 10 of them at $5 a crack, you know what I mean? And people are making money off of selling their prescription medication to people who don't need the medication for medical reasons, that just want to get high.
And even doctors.
But see, that's why, again, I feel that it should also only be from the hospitals, because like, there are places in Europe where you would have to go to the hospital even if you are fine. You just check yourself in for the few hours. They actually administer the drug that you need for pain, for whatever it might be, and then they release you once it's done. You don't have to be an inpatient. You don't have to stay there for days. It's just, I'm going in to get my one dosage, and it's controlled. They know who has it, how much has been sent out instead
Right.
of going on the street buying it. Like,
However, what if they need long-term care? Then that presents a different set of issues. If
but then
it's
you have to
something that
figure
can't be
out
controlled.
something else. You can't use the same drug for long term because that will create immunity and addictions.
Yes.
Well, now hold on just a dang second there, young man, because money making is business, and here in America is
It's all
business.
about the
Yes.
money.
So now you deal with, doctors get paid commissions off of drugs they administer. So how are you going to say to a doctor who has a mortgage payment, a Mercedes payment, a wife, another wife, look,
I'm
man,
fucking
I got
weak.
bills that got to be paid, and you're paying me to prescribe this over here.
Mm,
Thoughts?
I think
That
doctors
should
are
come
correct.
down to the government, I feel, and the government should have some kind of stimulus that will be put towards doctors so they don't have to just prescribe medication to people to get
but
paid.
they're corrupt too.
Well, exactly. So we
Doctors
have to,
and the government
we need to
kinda
stop being
work
corrupt.
together.
There's the
Okay, doctors and the
And I
government
would
do
love
not
that.
work together. They like the government has a meeting and
people
they're like,
are
bring all the
getting
doctors
No.
and let's plan on how we're gonna bring this medical situation.
In all actuality, let's kind of, because the government is all about medical out here in America. Because I'm like, if you go to Mexico, there is no such
Yeah.
thing as like all this medicine and no. I was like, you go to Mexico, it's a lot of herbal home remedies that you have
true.
to go through. Or not that you go through, but like a lot of people can't afford to even go to the hospital, so they have a lot of home remedies because there's no insurance in other countries. You pay cash right up front.
Well, and let's talk about the elephant in the room. You may not have known there, but there is an elephant in this room, which is the lobbyist. The large pharmaceutical companies, let's call it Berserk Company, they actually pay people to go to Washington and argue to pass laws so that they can put their drugs
Yeah.
into not just hospitals but schools as well.
Yeah.
And they spend a lot of money. They spend billions of dollars to put those, and so then you end up with, let's just say, a kind-hearted president who just wants to do the best in his old years. He doesn't really have a choice. He's got to do what he's got to do because those people got him in office, and now you have a problem. He's
True.
going to pass the laws that are going to favor those big businesses, and here we sit, the little guy. We don't have any say-so in it. And the insurance companies are also in bed with the medical companies. So let's say this person needs a coverage. Let's make sure they get some drugs while they're in the hospital. And which drugs should they get? Well, let's make sure they get these.
Yeah.
This is just my theory. Don't be tapping my phone. All right. So let's go. Any other thoughts on the opioid addiction? What about glamorization? One of my favorite shows was Breaking Bad. They're doing drugs on that
yeah.
show every episode.
Yeah.
It looked cool to me, so I started doing crystal meth.
Oof.
And how did that work out
And
for
only,
you?
and wait, and only one person said, oof. Everybody else was like, that explains it. Now I get it. That motherfucker's on crystal meth. I get it.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Right, you ain't gotta argue.
Explains a
I got
lot.
you. I got you. But you know what I'm saying? The glamorization of it. You watch shows like Breaking Bad. You watch shows like Narcos, where it just looks cool. You see the police chasing these drug dealers, but the police are like, pew, pew, pew. Meanwhile, the drug dealer is like, who's going to win? Your
Well,
thoughts?
you know who's going to win?
Who's
It's going
gonna
to be
win?
the drug dealers, but it's TV.
yeah.
Right,
But I
but
feel
TV
like 'cause
influences the world, though.
TV, people like to watch things that they don't experience themselves. That's the whole point of entertainment, I feel.
Right.
It's like, like when it came to the subject of like how sex is so like about, in media, and it's like, well, sex sells because we can't just walk around naked.
You know what?
So it's like,
You know what? Let me tell you something about sex, okay? Think about this for a second. Sex is the number
Beautiful.
one free thing that we can get in our world. Everybody's born from sex. So how did somebody subversively turn sex into a multi-billion-dollar industry? I mean, we all got body parts. We all know what body parts look like. How did it turn into, now we're going to pay to see body parts? If I want to go see naked college girls, I just go to college, right? But now
That's right.
you pay to see naked stuff that you see naturally every day anyway. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I got on my thing.
and it's like, because I was gonna say, religion religion and society has made us believe that like sex is a sin. You're supposed to keep that for one person only and hide your
Said
body.
the priest who was sinning.
But you know, because it's so socially, like it's acceptable on TV, but it's not acceptable in person. When you have someone who's a little sexualized, they're just, you know, people kind of are like, oh my God, you're too free. You're considered a free bird. You're considered, you know, like wild. And it's like, no, I just like being naked, you know. But that being said, when you have TV telling you like, excuse me. When you have society telling you that it's a sin to be naked or a sin to be sexual, when you see it on TV, you're like, oh, that's what it's like.
But don't you guys feel that, I agree with you by the way, but don't you feel that there's a slant towards it where you see in a movie a trail, you see a pattern. You see a young girl who's a virgin in high school, she goes to a party, they say, hey, we're smoking some reefer in here. I know, reefer, right? We're smoking some herb in here, and they give her some. And then the next thing you know, she's a fucking crack whore in the alley. She's willing to sell her body for any amount of drugs you're willing to give her. But that's how movies portray the road that leads into drugs and sex and rock and roll. What were you going to say, Deanna?
I'm at a loss for words right now, Ace. I have so much I could say, but we're talking about sex, drugs, and rock and roll here. So I am going to agree with you that the movies are portraying a start of an innocent situation that's going to escalate into God only knows what. We have no idea where these things are going. So,
Okay, well, the topic of our show today is actually opioid addiction.
Right.
And I'm going to marry these two together in saying that, I'm going to segue, as we call it in show business, in saying that what happens with drugs is actually the opposite manifestation. We're told that hard drugs really aren't a big deal. They really won't affect you that much. Go ahead and take this.
Who said that?
Well, your drug dealer, who is your pharmacist, by the way. Oh! Too soon?
Whoa.
Too soon? It's real. Hey, it's real, man. Turn the channel. You can't handle it. But it is. You know, if I sprain my knee and I go to the doctor today, like I said, he gets paid a commission to tell me to take this drug. He's not going to say, listen, spend a little time at home with your family, eat some nutritious meals, you'll be fine in 2 weeks. He's never going to tell me that. He's going to tell me, oh, this is bad, and the only thing for bad is go downstairs and give them this script, and then take this. And that's what it is.
It's funny that you say that because I like how you say like that's your pharmacist, because even they will tell you like, look, just take half a pill first. Like
right.
That's literally. I'm like, now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God, the relevance. Like that's
right,
so
exactly,
yeah,
right.
that's relatable. As
They're
fuck.
like, listen, Holmes, come on.
Like take
This is
this
some heavy
much.
shit
If you
right
feel
here.
good or you don't feel it, then take the other half. And you're like, oh, okay. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I'm like, they do recommendations.
And they
All
tried to
fucked
do the
up.
same thing with the pandemic vaccines. Remember, they were like,
The booster.
first jab, second jab, you know, how many jabs you want? You're doing you. Just get a jab. I don't care. Yeah,
like I just got the
it's
car.
crazy. Well, and this comes down to regulation. I mean, obviously this is a problem because who's watching the wolves in the hen house? Who's getting paid to watch the wolves in the hen house? The FDA, the Federal Drug Administration. I don't know. Kind of shaky. I hope this video doesn't get pulled off of YouTube when I say I think they're on the tape. I think they're paid.
If it gets pulled off, you're doing something right.
There it is. Other thoughts on the opioid problem in America? The war on drugs. You know, back in the Bush administration, we had a literal war on drugs. They declared war.
El
Reagan.
Chapo.
It was actually before Bush. It was Reagan.
Deal.
Reagan
Yes.
declared, we're going to have a war on drugs. We're going to arrest black people mostly and put them in prison, and that's what's up. We're going to go to war on drugs. Well, here we sit now, decades later. How are we looking, Deanna, on the war on drugs? Are we winning?
We are not
Is it
winning
a
the war on
stalemate?
drugs. No.
That
Should we
shit's
tap out
strong
at this
as
We
point?
should
poison.
tap out at this point. We are not winning the war on drugs.
Anybody
This,
else
this
war on
war's
drugs?
been going on for, what, 30 years now? Plus 40?
And as you
Since-
said, it's a
since the- since the
multi-billion-dollar
80s?
industry, so it's
Billions.
not going.
Billions.
We're not winning.
Billions.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near billions.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Any thoughts?
No, I think
Wanna
no.
go? You
Just
cool
let
with it?
just let it go. Let it
Does
go.
anybody think these drugs should be made legal? That's another
Yes.
argument. Yes?
Yes.
Really?
Well, you could tax them just like they did with weed. They tax us 20% on weed. Come on now.
That's true.
20%.
That's true.
You can make so much money if you just let it be legal. But
Thoughts?
control
You know,
it.
I saw a billboard
Oh, yeah.
recently where I think the billboard said that you can get an eighth of marijuana at the dispensary for $25.40. And I laughed because when in the history of buying drugs have you ever seen anybody advertising, I got you for $25.40?
And deliver.
And the next billboard was Marie Callender's. You can get a pie for $9.99. So
Get the munchies right after.
you
See,
could
like-
get
get
high
smoke it.
and your pie.
That's
You can get
fun.
high and
High
your
and
pie.
pie.
Love
I
it.
hate you for that.
$34 and 52 cents.
You
There
can
you
get
go.
high and get your pie. I'm
This is
weird.
here in Las Vegas, y'all.
Yo.
Last question on opioids is a popular question, which is, what are we saying to the kids with all of this?
Oh,
What does this
shit.
mean to the children?
You know.
I say
Fuck. That's
stay
a rough
away
one.
from the drugs. I mean, unless again you're in pain or you really need something, don't go that route. Like I don't think it's necessary. I mean, if you want to experiment with certain things, I mean, people want to. That's their choice. That's their option and their prerogative. But I would say do it in a safe environment.
Yeah.
Make sure you are around others that can watch you and monitor you in case something
Do it in a place
goes
where you're
wrong. But
comfortable.
yeah, don't do it on the streets. Make sure you get it from a safe source as well, because you don't know. Drugs are mixed with all
When
kinds of
you're a
things.
kid, I'm like, when you're like 14, you think
Wow.
your best friend is a trustworthy little advocate, and you're just like,
So exactly.
There
that's
goes
another
that.
problem.
I'm saying, where are the parents
Oh,
watching
yeah,
their
they-
kids?
Where are the parents watching their kids?
Yeah, where are
Babysitters
they?
These days,
But
parents working.
here's-
I mean,
here's-
kids escape.
yeah,
they
I'm like, kids are gonna do what they want.
Go out
like,
the window.
my mom, when
So-
I had a boyfriend, I had a boyfriend secretly. I was like 15 at the time. I
Well,
wasn't
ain't
allowed
no
to date.
secret no more.
And
Yeah.
where was your mother?
No, right. And it's one of those like, where was your mom? But when my mom found out, my mom was like, you had a boyfriend this whole time? Instead of punishing me, grounding me, my mom was like, you know what? I'm going to take full control of this shit. She goes, you want to go see your little boyfriend? Vacuum the stairs. Clean the refrigerator. Like, mop the floor. Clean the entire fucking house if you want to go see your... My mom took full control of it. So, in my sense, I was like, that was good parenting. If my mom found out that I was on drugs, she'd probably be like, you know what? I don't like it. But here's what we're going to do. Like, you know, because kids are going to do what they want.
Yeah.
Kids are going to do what they want. What exactly are we telling the kids? I'm like, I feel like we should be telling the kids. It should be more promoted so you can educate kids. Because kids aren't being educated on this shit. Like, they don't know what shrooms does. They don't know what ecstasy does. They don't even know what alcohol does. Because everything is just, don't do it. Abstinence. Don't have sex. Don't do drugs. Don't. But it's like, now you're telling them, like, don't. Like, now I want to do it.
You're doing an excellent promotion for the Lana Cherez motivational series DVDs,
Shit.
which will be for sale after Hey, we're at the end of the show. We're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for subscribing, sharing, and liking. And remember, we're the Sunday Night Edition, where it's all about your opinion, and we want your opinions all the time. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Before we cut everything, you can keep the cameras running. We had a captionable with the chicken and the KFC.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do that segment real quick. It's just
Okay.
a quick
Okay.
second. The picture will be on the screen,
I wrote
so
a
the
joke.
audience will see the picture, and I'm going to ask you each what your caption was, and then that closes the show.
Okay.
Okay, you remember this?
Don't even think I've been sold this.
So the thing was, you're
I wrote
supposed to
down
come
so
up
many
with what would you
jokes over it.
caption for that picture.
Oh,
Okay, and don't say yet, but we will say. And then I sent you guys questions too.
funny.
We're gonna do the questions thing in a second. Okay, we still rolling?
Can I read my jokes? I wrote them
Well, you
down.
say one.
Okay.
One. Okay.
Which one's the funny one? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We ask you to caption a photograph that we found on the internet. These photos have not been photoshopped or doctored in any way, which is what makes them so funny. So we have our guests giving their opinions of the photos that were captioned. And you're welcome to, by the way, go to our Facebook group. You'll find the same photo there, and you could put your caption. Best caption from an audience member wins a night of dinner for two at some place, maybe McDonald's. I don't know. But you get dinner, don't bitch. You get dinner. Don't trip, homie. All right. So, Deanna, what was your caption for this photo?
My caption for this photo was, "Oh shit, I made it out. Sorry about my family, but it is what it is."
That's
I made it
crazy. Lana, what's your caption for this photo?
Mine was chicken walking up. This is not what I thought when you say you wanted to eat me out.
Oh, snap! Too soon? Too soon? Okay, and let's go to Ari. What in the world did you want to caption this photo?
Mine was just, sorry friends, I'll miss you.
Oh my God. Hey, you really get to know a person on this show. Thank you for watching the Sunday night edition.
Bye.
Okay, and keep